Welcome to Vape News Radio, the voice of vaping. In each show, we share the latest about regulations and things you need to know, plus upcoming conferences and fests, along with interviews with the movers and shakers in this fabulous vape space. Are you looking to get into this ever-expanding marketplace? Do you want to master this industry? Listen up as Norm Bauer, the Vape Mentor, shares it all. And here's your host, Norm Bauer.
Alrighty then, welcome back to section number 2 of Vape News Radio number 5. And for those of you who are actually watching on video, I'm moving the camera around to find exactly the right proportion, the right lighting, so I think that one's going to actually work for you. Might be a little bit boring because all you're looking at is a talking head, but, be that as it may, the power of YouTube is great for SEO marketing. And, again, as I mentioned in the last section, we're going to be adding a lot more video to our website. So let me talk to her for a moment about our guest, Richard Yu. So, there's a lot of you out there that are interested in developing your own juice. That's fairly easy to do. And there's a lot of you that are interested in actually develop your own line of E-cigs. That's not so easy to do. And so when I was in Chicago last month, I interviewed Richard. He is one of the major players in the manufacturing of not just their own e-cigs, but primarily for those of others. And I asked him, I said, so are there any famous companies that you manufacture for? And he kind of chuckled and said yes, but of course he couldn't name names. So the reality of this is that this particular company has somewhere north of 500 different manufacturers that they actually make the cigarettes for, and then they white label them. So just join with me here as we interview Richard Liu, and do not go away. Go ahead and roll it, Paul. So in the world of cigarettes and e-cigarettes and vaping, there's 3 very distinctive channels. There's, of course, the combustibles, primarily composed of the big 3, R.J. Reynolds, Lorillard, Altria. And, of course, there's the vape space, which is what we primarily deal in here on the radio show, and also it's what I deal in my business practice. But then there's that missing link in between. It's the e-cigarette. It's where big tobacco is going, and what's interesting is that you can manufacture your own brand of e-cigarettes. Just like you can manufacture your own juice, you can also manufacture your own e-cigarette. So I'm sitting here with Richard Yu, with First Union Technology Company out of China. And Richard is actually one of the largest and one of the first providers of this technology. So, Richard, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me.
Of course. So tell us a little bit about what First Union does.
Yes, First Union is a company located in Shenzhen, China. We have 10-year experience. The company was established in year 2004. We are a pioneer in the electronic cigarette industry. In terms of sales volume and sales dollar, we are in fact the world's largest electronic cigarettes provider. Last year, we have been achieved about over $350 million revenue in last year. So that's why we name ourselves the world's largest electronic cigarette provider. Yeah, we are not just kind of selling the product. In fact, we are pioneering a lot of new product. We put a lot of product innovation and R&D resources in our company. We have more than 200 R&D expertise and professionals. And that's why we keep on introducing new product to lead the market, to maintain our leadership position in the marketplace.
All right, so let me step back. So in 2004, you were already manufacturing electronic cigarettes?
Yeah, we started at year 2004.
Was anyone before you, or were you the very first?
Well, I think at that time, only a very few supplier into market, because at that time, it's still very preliminary stage at this industry. Only about 4 or 5 years ago, the industries got blooming crazily. We are going into an exponential growth stage in the whole industry. And particularly for First Union, our revenue is almost every year double the revenue growth.
Wow.
Yes.
So can you share with us about how many different people that you manufacture their cigarettes for? And I don't want you to name names, but you obviously manufacture a lot of white-labeled other products.
Yes. As a so-called, we do the private label to a lot of famous brands in the U.S. I think if you name the top famous brand in the U.S., I would say almost half of them are coming from us.
Wow.
Yes, but we are not just focusing in the U.S. market. We are also selling to the European market. So basically, First Union are doing over 90% of our sales for exporting to the U.S. and to Europe. The rest is for local China market.
All right, so let me ask you a question. So I want to come to you or I do come to you because I want to create my own line of e-cigarette, do I just need to say, give me something off of the shelf, or do I need to come in with some plans or some details, or how does this process work, or can I do both?
It's pretty simple. You can have different options. The first, simply you can use our existing product, and then you put your brand on this so-called very simple private label business for you. Or you can let us know your particular design, the number of puffs you need, the color or the size, the shape of the e-cigarette you like. You just let us know. We can make it for you. So this is option 2. The option 1 is very simple, off the shelf. You can pick from our existing product, put your brand on. The second option is have your own design.
That's interesting. So do most people bring their own design, or most people take what's off the shelf?
I would say half and half.
Half and half.
Yes.
So when I come to you and I don't know anything about designing an e-cigarette, so I want to take something off of the shelf, do I have to commit to a certain minimum number of product?
In terms of annual quantity, we don't have any restriction on this, because as far as we understand it from the market, many of the new players, they start off small, but maybe 2 or 3 years later they grow very fast. So like our existing customer, most of them when they started off very small business, but nowadays they are amongst the top 10 brand in the U.S. So when you work with First Union, you are welcome to start off with small quantity. But of course, you have to fulfill our minimum order quantity. But in terms of annual quantity, we don't have any restriction on that.
All right,
because we want to promote the business, and we want to help all these start-off business company to have a healthy growth at the start-off phase.
So I have to give you an initial order of approximately how many?
It depends on which product you are talking about.
Yes.
Normally it's just several thousand pieces.
Oh, wow.
Only. So it's just fine. Very easy to start off. All
right, so if I come to you and I say, give me one of those over there, how do I customize that to make it something different? Because the problem is that the consumer out there doesn't know what makes one product better than another.
Yeah.
So when I want to develop Norm's e-cigarette, and I don't have my own design, and I want to take something off the shelf, what do I need to do to be able to customize that so my cigarette is different than Richard's cigarette?
Oh, yeah. There are different ways to do that. Of course, the simplest way is to have your different packaging, different color, different artwork design to make it more consumer appealing, to make it differentiate from other similar product into the market. That is from the market packaging point of view. The other thing is you can emphasize different features, like if you are more focusing to market your product as highest puff in the market, so you can select from us the product which got the highest puff, okay? Or you can select from other features like some with different color at the tip. When you smoke, there's color changing. All these different features, they can make a difference from the other products. Or you can choose from us different sizes of the battery, some with higher capacity, some with lower capacity. So it will, of course, give you a different number of puffs per product, per piece. Right. So it's really up to you. What is your marketing point?
How are you?
It really depends on you. What's your preferred marketing point to launch your product into the marketplace?
Okay. So approximately how much money would I need to commit to doing this? If I just wanted a minimal amount, about how much money would I need to commit? Tens of thousands of dollars? Is that enough?
It's almost 10, maybe about 50,000. About 50,000, for example, to start up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so do you also help me distribute? So in other words, if I create Norm's e-cigarette and I want to sell it here in the United States, I have my own channels. But if I want to sell it in Europe or in Asia, do you help me do that?
Currently, we only work as a supplier. Mainly supplier. We do not involve in customers' channel. But of course, we have our own channel to sell our own brand. But normally, that's for our own brand.
Okay.
For customer, we better keep our key role as a supplier. So our customer will handle their own channels to sell through their product.
All right. So a lot of people ask me about importing directly, especially when it comes to hardware in vaping.
Yeah.
And, of course, it's very challenging to work through imports. So when I want to bring this over from China, is it a challenging process for me to be able to get it through customs?
You mean importing it?
Importing it, yes.
It's not really challenging.
It's
we
not?
are selling a lot to the U.S. market, as I said. So almost 50 in the U.S. and then in Europe. So we have a lot of experience selling into the U.S. market, doing all the logistic work. So it's not really that difficult.
Okay. So you did how much this past year? 300 or 350 million?
Yeah.
And you're doubling every year. So that means in 2 years you should be $1 billion company.
Well, we are targeting on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. So where do you see the future direction of e-cigarettes? Obviously, here in the United States, we have the FDA, but you deal in a worldwide market. Do you deal with other regulatory agencies in different countries?
Yes. In terms of regulatory requirement, we see that in the U.S., of course, there's FDA. They are looking at these regulations, and also in the European market, every country there are also discussing on the regulation to put e-cigarette as a regulated product. So, First Union welcome all this regulation. I know some industry players, some suppliers, they are really worrying about this regulation. But to us, First Union, we all welcome all these because we think with this regulation, we will make the industry more healthier and it will help to screen out those smaller size suppliers.
Well, I'll be
honest.
At the
end of the day, there will have some consolidation from the supplier side. That is positive to First Union. So we believe some not to standard suppliers will soon give up. So I think to the whole industry is healthy.
Well, yeah, I agree with you about regulation. There are people who are radical and who basically say, leave me alone, let me do my thing. But I, for one, support regulation, but I do not support restriction, and you agree with that as well. You know, we should have some guidelines that says what we can and cannot do and make sure that we're using sanitary and safe and healthy ingredients and let the market dictate exactly what it sells, because in my opinion, the people, the voice of the public will speak very, very loudly, and as big tobacco starts putting more and more effort and more money into e-cigarettes, I can't help but think that that's going to help fuel your business as well. Would you agree with that?
Well, I can tell you that the big tobacco companies, the top 10 tobacco companies in the world, almost 50% of about 5 of those already working with First Union.
Wow.
So that's why we welcome all this regulation.
That's interesting. So basically we have these big mega companies, these big tobacco companies, they come to you and they say, I wanted to have so many puffs and have such a flavor and have such an end, and you help create that.
Exactly.
And obviously they commit to more than a couple thousand. They probably commit to several million in order to really launch it big.
That's our strategy.
That's awesome. Yeah. You know, I have to tell you, Richard, I was not familiar with your company simply because I don't work in the e-cigarette market as much. But I find it fascinating, and for me to be able to develop my own e-cigarette for not a lot of money is very, very fascinating. So I'm sure a lot of my listeners would be interested in pursuing this as well. So what is the best way for people to find out about your company?
You know, our company put out a lot of efforts in marketing and promotion and marketing communication. So, of course, you can come to our website. You can come. We also proactively reach out to the market, like this time in this Vapor World Expo. We have our own booth here. And 2 weeks later, we have another show in Krakow, Poland. So we are, First Union, really proactive in promoting a healthier smoking habit.
So what is your website?
Our website is www.ChinaFirstUnion.
China First Union.
Yeah, ChinaFirstUnion.com.
ChinaFirstUnion.com. Yeah. Awesome. Richard, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for educating me. Thank you for educating our audience.
Thank you very much.
Well, I thought that was a pretty interesting conversation, and again, we're kind of running short on time in section number 2, and so we're going to pick this up again in another time. But for those of you who are interested in developing your own line of e-cigs, you know, if you have something to the order of $20,000 to $50,000 in your budget to develop your own line, let me know. Just go ahead and get a hold of me, Norm at VapeMentors, with an S, Norm at VapeMentors.com. And do not go away. This is part 2 of the Vape News Radio Show, The Voice of Vaping, and we're going to be right back with part 3. Thanks again.
You've been listening to the Voice of Vape News Radio with your host, the one and only Vape Mentor, Norm Bauer.